In Venezuela, the leaders of political parties and former presidential candidates began their hearings before the electoral chamber of the Supreme Court of Justice as part of the judicial process into the July 28th elections. President of Colombia, Gustavo Petro, celebrated 2 years in office with social organizations gathering mobilizations in defense of the government's social reforms. Palestinian Hamas Movement elected its new leader after the assassination in Tehran of Ismail Haniyeh. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. In Venezuela, the leaders of political parties and former presidential candidates began their hearings before the electoral chamber of the Supreme Court of Justice. Former presidential candidates attended the call of the electoral chamber after President Nicolas Maduro filed an appeal to verify and investigate the electoral process. The court started the hearing for the individual appearances of the former candidates and their legal representatives. Opposition candidates Manuel Rosales of Un Nuevo Tiempo, José Luis Cartaya for the Mesa de la Unidad Democrática, and José Simón Calzadilla for the Movimiento por Venezuela. The officials are called to present arguments and evidence before the court. Also, the re-elected President Nicolas Maduro on Tuesday reiterated the judicial summons issued by the Supreme Court of Justice. In this way, the Bolivarian leader made the announcement in the framework of a mobilization of senior citizens in support of the re-election of Maduro and in defense of sovereignty and peace. In this sense, the group known as the Grandparents of the Homeland urged the different sectors of the country to cease their attempts to generate violence and fill citizens with hatred in order to start building a prosperous and peaceful nation. During the act, Maduro reaffirmed that he expects that all former candidates mentioned will come to the call of the Supreme Court of Justice and that, if necessary, he will deliver 100% of the records that are in the possession of the government.
Just now, before leaving, I heard a statement from the President of the Supreme Court of Justice. The magistrate said that the 10 candidates have already been judicially summoned according to the codes and laws of the country. I received the judicial summons and so the 38 heads of the 38 parties that participated in the election got it too. It must go to court on Friday. I'm thinking about inviting the people to accompany me or not. Let me think about it. Leave the fuss. I will go and I will answer all the questions that the court will ask me. And I told Diosdado Cabello, political chief of the United Socialist Party of Venezuela, and all the great patriotic poll, to prepare for us to deliver. If required, as I am sure, it will be 100% of the tally sheets that are in our possession. And I hope that all candidates and all parties deliver the documents there. The big question having been judicially summoned all the candidates and parties. Which of the candidates will not attend? Which we'll see. We will see.
On the other hand, in the framework of the bicentennial of the Battle of Junin, the Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro recalled how Bolívar and Sucre, together with the people, succeeded in defeating and liberating Latin America.
It was the last battle that our liberator Simón Bolívar fought in his life, and it was the last battle that father and son Bolívar and Sucre fought together. Bolívar in the Central Command, Sucre in the Operational Command. We had two great units, and where we were together, Chileans, Argentines, Paraguayans, Peruvians, Ecuadorians, Venezuelans, Colombians, Nicaraguans, Cubans. We fought together. What a glorious history we carry in our blood. We are the liberators of America, of these noble and brave people who have fought 1,000 battles.
The re-elected president of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro, thanked Mali for his sincere congratulations. The Venezuelan president posted on his X account the following: "Our heartfelt embrace and fraternal gratitude to the people of Mali and its president, Colonel Assimi Goita, for their sincere congratulations to the Venezuelan people. Ratify our will to continue strengthening the bonds of brotherhood and friendship between both peoples." In another tweet, President Maduro expressed in the social media X, "I thank President of the Republic of Zimbabwe, Emerson Mnangagwa, for his solidarity and support to the Venezuelan people who have forcefully rejected violence through the popular vote on July 28th. I ratify that we will continue to take steps to strengthen bilateral relations and brotherhood between our peoples." Meanwhile, Venezuelan Foreign Minister Ivan Hill referred to the role of international observers in presidential elections held on July 28th. The diplomat assured that Chilean electoral observers told the truth about what they saw in the elections held on July 28th in Venezuela. Observers from Chile stated that those who acted as Chilean international observers in the Venezuelan presidential elections held on July 28, 2024, had been accredited by the National Electoral Council to conduct their electoral observation. Moreover, they reaffirmed their criteria set by their observation and accompaniment of the electoral process. Therefore, they urged the Chilean government to both respect the democratic institutionality of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela and recognize the will of Venezuelans clearly expressed on the ballot, as 8 of the 9 opposition presidential candidates have already done. Let's take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you'll find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back. The President of Colombia, Gustavo Petro, celebrates 2 years in office on Wednesday, while social organizations gather in mobilizations in defense of Petro's social reforms. In this sense, Petro will lead an official act at the Boyacá Bridge on the occasion of the 205th anniversary of the Battle of Boyacá and National Army Day. During the event, the Colombian leader will present a balance of his second year in office and will refer to his governmental achievements and goals after the first half of his constitutional term. For its part, the United Central of Workers of Colombia will march throughout the national territory in defense of the government of Gustavo Petro. Gustavo Petro's government has been characterized by social reforms and a policy of total peace. Among his achievements, it is worth to point out the approval of the tax and pension reform. It is also notable that his government had a political victory in Congress with a bill that allowed the recovery of subsidies for the public force, the historic reduction of deforestation, and new advances in digital training, connectivity, and bets on artificial intelligence. On the other hand, Petro continues to bet on a different model to reach a peace dialogue with the illegal armed groups, although he has not yet managed to eradicate the violent gangs that threaten the country. The Ecuadorian nation rejected on Tuesday Mexico's request for former Vice President Jorge Glass to be released from prison and transferred to a third country. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs reiterated what was mentioned in the press release of April 5th in reference to a document where Ecuador states that it disagrees with the asylum protection provided by Mexico and refuses to grant safe conduct to Glass. For its part, Bancada Ciudadana expressed on Tuesday its disagreement with the Ecuadorian government's refusal, saying that this decision announced by President Daniel Noboa represents once again the injustice and dehumanization that as a society they must condemn. Meanwhile, the government of Mexico demanded that the International Court of Justice resolve the lawsuit against Ecuador for the assault on the Mexican embassy in the city of Quito. The Mexican President, Andrés Manuel López Obrador, regretted that the International Court of Justice didn't issue a ruling against Ecuador for violating the immunity of his country's embassy in Quito to arrest the former Ecuadorian Vice President Jorge Glass, who had received asylum in the institution, leading to the rupture of relations between the two countries. In this regard, the Mexican President questioned the bureaucratic network of the United Nations and stressed that the organization is inefficient in addressing global problems. The main workers' unions, social and human rights organizations mobilized on Wednesday in Argentina, marking the traditional San Cayetano Day under the slogan of peace, bread, land, roof, and work. A basic claim that appears disrupted against Javier Milei's libertarian model, with tens of thousands of unemployed in little more than half a year, accompanied by a brutal cut in social assistance. The last measurement published by the country's Catholic University placed the poverty rate at 55% and the indigenous rate at 20.3% of the population. The Popular Economy Workers Union, UTEP, calls annually to mobilize for this date, and on this occasion it has been joined by labor centers and other political and social organizations. Meanwhile, the Peruvian province of Huanta completed its second day of general strike to demand the eradication of mining operations in the territory because they pollute water for human consumption and irrigation. The second day of the strike by farmer communities and the People's Defense Front of Huanta in the region of Ayacucho was carried out with the suspension of activities, very crowded marches and road blockades. The movement, with the slogan "Water Yes, Mine No," demands the total cessation of mining activity that they claim poisons the water sources in the Indian highlands, including the Rasuica Basin, which is the main water supply. Tropical storm Debby caused significant damage in Florida, Georgia, and South Carolina as it passed through the United States. In Georgia, Debby triggered tornadoes and flooded streets with up to 64 centimeters of rain. Firefighters have had to use boats to evacuate residents and deliver supplies. So far, 5 deaths have been reported in the state. The storm will track northward along the coast until Thursday morning and then make landfall again in South Carolina and North Carolina, which have already suffered flooding valued at $2 billion. In Germany, authorities reported 1 person dead and 8 others injured after a building collapsed in the country's western region. The incident occurred on Tuesday night in the municipality of Krov, in a hotel that housed 14 people, 9 of whom remain on the rubble. Authorities also reported that a total of 31 people in the vicinity of the collapsed hotel were ordered to evacuate. Emergency crews were quickly on the scene to continue the rescue of the remaining victims, while police are conducting an investigation to determine the causes of the collapse of the building. We have a second short break coming up, but before we invite you to join our WhatsApp community, our YouTube channel at teleSUR English. There you will be able to rewatch our interviews, top stories, special broadcastings, and more. Hit the subscribe button and activate the notification bell to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. Final short break, don't go away. Welcome back. Hamas political leader in the Gaza Strip, Yahya Sinwar, has become the new leader of the Palestinian movement, succeeding Ismail Haniyeh, who was assassinated in Tehran by the Israeli army. The Al-Qassam Brigade, the military wing of Hamas, declared that Haniyeh's assassination is a critical event that elevates the battle with Israel to new levels and will have significant repercussions throughout the region. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps recently stated that Israel will resolutely receive the response to the murder of Haniyeh and that it will receive a severe punishment at the right time, place, and quality.
No one was expecting Sinwar to replace Haniyeh, and the nomination were for Musa Abu Marzouk or Khalid Mouchard to be successors to Ismail Haniyeh. As for Sinwar, him becoming the head of the Hamas movement, he may have a positive impact on the negotiations, and it might pose a challenge to Israel given that Sinwar lives inside the Gaza Strip among the people under siege, which is different from Haniyeh, who live abroad.
Let's go over highlights of the political profile of Yahya Sinwar, appointed by Hamas as the new chair of its political bureau. Since the early 1980s, Israeli occupied officers had arrested him several times while he was at the Islamic University in Gaza. In 1987, he joined Hamas movement, and a year later, Israeli authorities convicted him to 4 life sentences for alleged murder. In 2011, he was released after 23 years thanks to a prisoner swap deal. By 2017, Sinwar was the leader of Hamas in Gaza, as Haniyeh was elected chair of the political bureau. Meanwhile, 3 people were killed and more than 10 wounded in overnight Israeli attacks that destroyed 2 houses and 10 sheltering displaced people in areas of Deir al-Balah. In this sense, the Palestinian Ministry of Health denounced that the Israeli occupation army's attacks in Gaza killed 24 people and injured 110 in the last 24 hours, bringing a total of 39,677 Palestinians killed and 91,645 injured since October. Israeli media released a video of Tel Aviv regime soldiers raping a Palestinian prisoner and torturing others in the SD Timan prison. Israel's Channel 12 released internal cameras documenting the attack on the detainee at the detention center located in the Gaza desert. The images show several Israeli soldiers selecting one prisoner among 30 others who lay on the detention yard floor with their eyes covered. They then take him to a corner where they sexually assault him while using shields to hide the facts. The Israeli media reported that hours later, the Palestinian prisoner was taken to a hospital bleeding and with serious wounds. In this context, the government of Turkey will officially join South Africa's lawsuit against the State of Israel in the International Court of Justice. In this regard, Turkey submitted a request to the international body to be part of the lawsuit filed by South Africa against the genocide orchestrated by the Israeli regime in the Palestinian territories. Meanwhile, the Turkish foreign minister assured that it is fully prepared to seek justice against Tel Aviv, which has been violating international law for several months. In the petition submitted by Turkey, the government emphasizes its rejection of Israel's policies against the Palestinian people, which violate international law and human rights. As the Olympic Games are underway, NGO Utopia 56 denounced a social cleansing committed by the French government after clearing homeless migrants from Bastille Square in Paris. The police expelled over 200 homeless migrants with their tents located next to the Olympic rings. The NGO announced that on the occasion of the Games, 216 permanent housing places were created for isolated homeless people living permanently in the vicinity of the Olympic venues, while more than 3,500 people sleep every night on the streets of the French capital. They affirmed that thousands of people housed in buffer centers will be thrown out on the streets as soon as the Games are over.
They've been here for months, actually every day, and a few days ago they told us it was important to unite because we have a lot of homeless people, so we thought we would unite in the struggle for housing, to be able to show together the reality of what's happening during these Olympic Games, people without homes, without rights. Even if it's a party, it's not a party for everyone. So we decided to make ourselves visible, and there were about 250 of us.
We have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website, telesurenglish.net. Also join us on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. We are going live